Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about that awfully biased and anti-American show on AJ Plus called Newsbroke, which sometimes is mockingly referred to as News Woke for obvious reasons. And well, for anyone who's ever seen their videos or our coverage of them, you can quickly see why. Newsbroke is like the new current year version of MTV's former show called Decoded, also here on YouTube. Basically, it's some of the most pro-social justice warrior, liberal-leaning, anti-Trump, and anti-American garbage being put out on YouTube today. In addition, the hosts not only are failed comedians who awkwardly squeeze in their cringe-worthy humor into every sentence, but also that's not all they have in common actually. Not only are the Decoded and Newsbroke hosts both past their prime, bitter female minorities and failed comedians, but also they're coincidentally both named Francesca for some reason as well. Now, MTV's Decoded is basically dead, and we've covered their host Francesca Ramsey extensively for years, so let's now turn and focus back on Newsbroke and their host named Francesca Fiorentini, because not only does Newsbroke have a new anti-capitalist video out this week, but also I've discovered some rather interesting information about Franny F's background that really explains why she acts so liberal that she's a virtual communist. And also, we've got more context for why Francesca hates America so much too. So before we get to the new terribly unfunny video they made later, let's first talk about Francesca herself and why she seems to hate America so much. But before we even get to that, let's first take about 30 seconds to hear from our sponsors at Virtual Shield, because without their help and support, this show wouldn't be able to stay afloat, especially in these trying times. With everyone now working from home, VPN security is now a requirement. So with more and more hackers and identity thieves on the prowl out there, if you don't have a VPN yourself that's protecting your internet traffic, now's a great time to get one. And Virtual Shield has the easiest and fastest VPN on the market, and they're offering a free 30-day trial now too. So since it's free, why not give it a try today? Help me help you, and let's all help each other. And let's all have a great, safe, secure internet experience while surfing the web as usual. Thanks for your time today, and now back to the show. Great, now let's get back to Francesca Fiorentini and why she really hates America. First of all, Franny is not from here. A quick search about her background and identifying characteristics show Francesca Fiorentini was born in South America, Buenos Aires, Argentina to be exact. Now, while Buenos Aires is a very big and fine city, Argentina as a whole has certainly had some issues, especially with its economy, which crashed for various reasons in the early 2000s. In addition, Argentina has a mixed economy too, with varying levels of private and public ownership. This means, like much of South America, Franny comes from a country that's practically socialist, and this surely has been an influence on her and her starkly anti-capitalist takes as of late, which she's had repeatedly in her Newsbroke videos over and over for years, and she continues to do so now in her latest video as well from this week, which we'll get to later. We'll break down a bit of that terrible video soon, but for now, let's stick with this Franny backstory because, believe it or not, but we're only getting started and it gets far, far worse. Next, let's talk about Francesca Fiorentini's parents, or more specifically her mother, who is not only from the Far East, but she's from China of all places. Nothing wrong with that by itself either. I of course have nothing against Asians, my wife is from Thailand after all, but this is worth noting and pointing out all things considered. I mean, just imagine if the roles were reversed for a minute. What if I, an American-born foreigner, decided to move to China and then start making videos in Chinese where I joke around and distort their news, bashing their country daily, openly talking about being anti-communist, and also, what if I was attacking their leaders repeatedly too? Well, this clearly would not fly over there because we all know that Middle Kingdom is authoritarian as hell, and they'll lock up reporters and dissidents for far less than what I stated. But even if this role reversal was happening in another free country like America, like say if we went to Britain or France, well, it would still seem weird to do there as well. Like, why would you move to another country across the globe only to spend all your time there bashing them and trying to tear down their long-running political and economic systems? This might sound a bit conspiratorial, but you gotta admit, that sounds like something a foreign spy or an angry anti-American terrorist would do. And this would be true no matter where Franny and her family came from. But to then find out they're actually from China, America's biggest enemy, and the ones who created this ongoing health scare right now. And in addition, Franny also has roots in southern socialist nations whose systems failed there, but gosh darn it, they're going to try and bring their failed systems here to America anyway. And well, that's because these foreign communist insurgents, their goals aren't winning and they don't want America to succeed. They don't have ideas that are trying to make our country successful. Quite the opposite, actually. These foreign operatives descending from our greatest enemies, well, they are going to promote things that will make us fail purposely. And they want us to do worse and fall apart so that their countries of origin can, in fact, be the ones that do better. Now, if you're on board with me on this whole Francesca Fiorentini thing, let me also remind you of one more thing. She literally works for a foreign nation as well. AJ Plus is, of course, foreign funded and Middle East run, and they're a pro-terrorist, anti-American outlet that's been spreading propaganda against us for years. So it really shouldn't surprise us that one of the few people AJ Plus hired that wasn't of Middle Eastern descent is a half-communist, half-socialist, pro-China Francesca Fiorentini, who also has her own reasons to hate America as well. And that's not even mentioning the fact that Franny is a 49-year-old single and childless spinster whose failed life and failed comedy career has made her more bitter than your average feminist and liberal. She may make a lot of jokes and act happy-go-lucky, but she really reminds me of that sad clown meme, or that meme with a mask and someone crying behind it, because I think Franny really is sad and hateful and a terrible person on the inside, despite her shallow attempts to project this unending positivity and good sense of humor on social media, which all come off as forced and rehearsed to me. With all that said, I think we now have plenty of background on Francesca Fiorentini, and it's interesting and fitting information that totally supports why she's so anti-American and anti-capitalist too, which is arguments and sides that often come out in these cringy Newsbroke videos she hosts. Speaking of which, the latest Newsbroke video which we're talking about today is called "Is the Economy Trying to Kill Us?" And spoiler warning, it's not. But Francesca is going to try and kill our capitalist economy every way she can. That way she can replace it with failed systems like socialism and communism. And remember, it does matter that her ideas are meant to make us fail. In fact, that's the whole point. Franny has a variety of loyalties and goals and ambitions, and none of them have anything to do with loving or helping America in any way. But don't just take my word for it. Let's check out a few clips from the new video and see for ourselves.
I'm Francesca Fiorentini, and this is Newsbroke's Helter Shelter series, coming to you from my one-bedroom LA apartment, which, after 3 weeks of self-quarantine, I have converted into my very own post-apocalyptic Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Today's secret word is...
sacrifice!
Now, you all know what you need to do when you hear the secret word, right?
Scream!
Okay, wow, a couple of things. First of all, I can't help but keep in mind that this is a 39-year-old woman who's living in a cramped one-bedroom apartment while talking to herself and making jokes that are meant to be aimed at babies and toddlers. And then on the flip side, after these terribly inappropriate and baby-like jokes, she then goes on to talk serious and act like she knows stuff about the economy and why we should abandon capitalism and go full-blown socialist. So yeah, quite the contradiction, and needless to say, I'm a bit bewildered. It's like we've seen the woman behind the curtain here, so now we can't take Mrs. Oz very seriously anymore, if we even did before. She clearly has issues, particularly she clearly hates America and our way of life. God knows why she chose to move here and settle in for so long, probably because deep down inside she knows we're the best and this is the coolest place to live. And really, the only rational explanation that makes sense to that is, and stay with me, but I do think Franny is trying to destroy this country from within. I mean, why else would she move here and stay within a place that she seems to hate so much? And also at the same time she's abdicating against us? Yikes. And it looks like we finally caught on to your real plans here, Franny. The jig is up, lady. Get your bad ideas and terrible suggestions designed to actually destabilize us and get that crap out of here.
Today we're looking at how defeating will mean deflating the Dow, and yet accepting that reality is something the president and the hardline conservatives advising him are trying to prevent at all costs. Yes, even our lives.
I'm not sure you were allowed to get that serious right after you made a Pee Wee Herman baby joke. This chick looks like she's about to cry now, but we all know another cringy joke is on its way soon, probably within the next line or two. But Newsbroke's incongruent presentation is the least of our worries here. What we should really be talking about is how Franny here is suggesting we need to, she's imploring that we have to crash our economy purposely. Otherwise, this health scare won't be stopped, supposedly. Not sure where she heard this idea from or where she's getting this proof or support for this, because I know I wouldn't trust a failed comedian with nothing to her name but a shitty LA apartment, that's for sure. I mean, I wouldn't trust that person's advice on anything, let alone should we be listening to them about the economy and serious political stuff. As for the president and others trying to prevent the market from crashing, well, why the hell is that a bad thing? Well, the only way Franny could vilify it was by making up some shit about if we keep the economy going, it's gonna kill people. But that's made up BS. And apparently she doesn't know that we can save the economy and protect our citizens at the same time. And that doesn't even mention the fact that people will obviously suffer and die if the market crashes too. Don't these socialists realize that a broken economy, no jobs or money, that means people can't buy food or medicine or healthcare they need to survive? They can't pay their rent and they're going to be out in the streets and dead in a week. So many will die from the economy crashing too. And that's a proven fact that we have evidence for from countless deaths that were caused by market crashes throughout modern history. But instead of acknowledging that, Franny wants us to repeat that bad history and fail, and she wants people to die again too, all because she made this baseless claim that we have to crash the economy or this health scare will kill more people, which we have no proof of. This is an unproven assertion with no backing or evidence or proof or history. It's just some made up baloney Franny is spouting because really she doesn't have our country or our people and our well-being in mind here. Her priorities are clearly elsewhere, as stated earlier. So despite Franny pretending to get teary-eyed here, she actually doesn't care about America or our people at all. In fact, she wants to bring us down and make this country worse. And that's not even me being dramatic or hyperbolic anymore. Franny literally said it herself. She wants the market to crash. Her words, not mine.
There still is yet to be a nationally coordinated effort to end the pandemic through mass testing, mass production of medical supplies, or nationwide lockdowns, which many experts say need to happen for months. That's partially why the US has the most cases of so far in the world, and counting.
Okay, now she is literally pushing Far East propaganda. I think we all know that the US has the most confirmed cases because we're the biggest country that's actually testing for it, and also reporting our numbers accurately and honestly. China surely has more cases than they're saying. They have billions of people, and that's where this whole problem started. But instead of acknowledging these obvious truths, Francesca is shilling for the communist nation because her mother and half her family are from there, and she also supports their communist authoritarian ideologies. And Francesca Fiorentini doesn't care about fixing or maintaining things here in America. She actually wants to make them worse. That's why, despite us already being in a big lockdown and most of the country is shut down already, businesses closed, millions are already quarantined, but that's not enough for Franny F. In fact, she almost seems to be pretending we're not doing anything at all right now, when we're already doing a ton. But it's never enough for people like this, and that's why she suggested we shut down absolutely everything for months and months. And meanwhile, China is already reopening Wuhan, the region where this whole virus came from originally. How the hell does that make any sense to anyone? I really don't get it. Unless, of course, you consider Franny's backstory and the obvious communist ploy at play here. The Middle Kingdom created this virus and refused to report it, which caused it to spread worldwide very quickly and dangerously. And now that their biggest enemy and competitor, us, the United States, has the virus, well, now they have their operatives like Franny saying we need to shut everything down for the rest of the year and let our whole country break down and the economy close. And well, that just looks like good old-fashioned corporate sabotage to me. Or, in this case, government or international sabotage. They're infecting their opponents with this weaponized virus, and they're also flooding our media with bad actors like Franny F, all as a way to try and take the US down. But gosh darn it, I'm not going to let that happen here. Not in my country. We're America and we're the best, and we're not going to listen to terribly unfunny train wrecks who have foreign allegiances like Franny.
Instead, Trump first floated the idea of loosening social distancing restrictions by Easter Sunday, because there's no better way to celebrate Jesus than by letting millions meet him in the afterlife. Trump then graciously agreed to extend the CDC guidelines to April 30th. Now, maybe that was based on science, but it was probably because he realized Tiffany was going to be visiting for Easter.
Classic Newsbroke right there. First some Trump bashing, check. Awkward jokes at the end of every sentence, check. And making baseless arguments that have no scientific backing whatsoever. Double check on that one. It's almost like they're not even trying anymore. Basically, their MO is to disagree with everything Trump says, and then they can work their their arguments backwards from there. Maybe taxing and rather dull to work that way, basing all your political opinions and thoughts on just trying to spite someone else, but this is what happens now, and it's Trump derangement syndrome at its finest. And it also reminds me of a bitter ex-girlfriend or a wicked ex-wife or something. Franny acts like Trump wronged her like this, and that's why she will just disagree with everything he says no matter what. But like with breakups and divorces, you really should be taking what a bitter person says like this with a grain of salt. They will basically disagree with their exes about everything. They could say 2 + 2 = 4, and the bitter ex would say, not necessarily. Sounds ridiculous, but that's really the level of bitter and pettiness these biased hack liberals like Franny are suffering from. And that's why you really can't take what they say about their ex-lover seriously anymore. Or in this case, you can't trust what they say about Trump. In the end, that's all we really need to see and say of Francesca Fiorentini and her failing Newsbroke show. Sure, it's getting ratings on its main AJ Plus channel, but it's also a series that has failed and been brought back at least twice that I know of now. And now I think we all know why. Francesca Fiorentini, Newsbroke, and AJ Plus, they hate America, which makes a lot of sense too, since not only are they not from here, they also have allegiances to our longtime foreign adversaries. So with that in mind, when they make suggestions like the US should shut down more of our economy and country for a much longer time, well, despite them pretending that's being suggested to help us and save lives, it's really not. They're making bad faith suggestions, feigning concern for us when really they're trying to make us fail so their true preferred nations can get one over on us. What do you guys think? Do these people hate America? Would you trust a foreigner like this if they were constantly shitting on their new country and trying to overturn your elections and destroy your political and economic systems? I'm sure China and many other communists wouldn't put up with that in their homes. But because America is free and we're just here, I guess we kind of have to. But at the very least, we can still call these traitors out and show how bad faith they are and they're bad actors, and expose their truly bad intentions too. Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you love Americans in this country, and we'll see y'all next time.